Should be good. Here, there, or here, perchance. Now, let's face this way. There we go. Hi there, Blue. Spray. Seems I'm a little late to the party, Mrs. Vesper. I have to get a few things out of the way. More than welcome to join. What's this? I'm getting dizzy. Bear with me, I'm mid setup to my cameras. Hello, Drax. Wow, it isn't lit. Yes, here I am on time. Hello. Decided to go stream in a daytime place for once. Anyway, that's camera 1. Let's set up camera 2. Pin 1, pin 2. Hi, chat. Hello, Synth. Behavior. Right. Set things up. Put that there. What's this? I'm working on the most annoying Helldivers build possible. I'm glad you're playing with Hazard and not with me then. Good luck with your exams tomorrow. I love the blue and black combo, of course. My favorite combo too. Good evening, Teaching. How are you tonight? Pretty... I don't know if I lacked sleep or not. I just woke up when my body told me to wake up, but I did not quite make the quota of 7 hours. Strange. Seems like you need to play some pool with someone. Oh, if only somebody would log in after stream. More than welcome to join. Maybe here. Hi, Fluffy. I had to figure out the camera because there's actual lighting in this world. So overread the world, I think. Back, lighting, light multiplier. Oh wow, that's pretty cool. That's 15. Problem is, if I start walking, down you go, down, go there. Right then, do some work. Good, shadows, check. But yes, hi chat. Good evening to you. I am on time. What do you know? Hello, Art. Hey, Bev. Nice to see you. I was super tempted to go play Battlefield, but I do miss VR chat too. I've discovered the joy that is the IAR. Something I have to try later. Hello, Moon Dancing. I'll see what I can do. I would be more than happy to have you keep me company later, Liz. And I mean it with all sincerity. Now, let me go finish setting up my layouts. Put that there. Enlarge. There we go. Should work. Better than that. Using my detective skills to infer that Beth is bad. Beth is bad? Where's the camera? There it is, hidden. And I know the whole walk towards it. Good, it works. It says, alas, as fun as it is watching Gabe play Battlefield, I do miss catching up on my friends in VR chat. Same here, it just hasn't been the same, hasn't it? For the past month, the social bar in VR chat hasn't quite been refilled as good as before. The usual people I keep company with for hours, which is Mecca, Mystic, Axiom. Oh, then we're also hanging out with the new people. There's Fluffy, Axel, Beth, but I shall not impose upon him because he's still on his old hardware. And Lids, of course. It's been a while since I've had those anime world moments sink in. It's the good kind of depressed. Did you figure out the entire new set? Surprisingly, yes, Vesper. After 8 grueling hours, we did manage to assemble her computer. I've been vibing with this song. Let me listen to it for maybe 5 more minutes and then we can go to my other tracks. The chat in the streams is my entire social interaction in VR chat, says Art. Really? Oh my. I mean, you could always go hang out with people, go intermingle. How hard was the I.O. panel? "15 minutes." It's funny. Vesper and I got the wrong screws, the mounting screws for the motherboard the first try. Because we thought the included screws was the one that's supposed to be used there. And then we had to take apart the whole thing again, and then one of the screws was not agreeing because the standoffs underneath was rotating along with the top. Oh well. But magically, no smoke, no kaputs, no blue screens, and everything's working gaming wise. It'd take a big chunk out of my stamina though. 8 hours. It was like working a whole shift. Glad to hear the computer's up and running. See, community's happy. Yeah, I could, but it's entirely a function of not having a ton of time and needing to find a setup to actually get things up on my Quest 2. You better get to it then. 1, start scheduling. 2, start setting up. Slow progress, like how I insist Blue to go fix his VR setup so he may join the Hangouts yet again. It's not just some fuzzy spherical object staring all creepily between the various members in a meetup. Tell me about it. mentions Vesper. I was doing all the physical labor out of it. You know, it's frustrating for the one that knows how to build the computers, be the one not able to, like, physically assemble it. You have to go talk with someone. Okay, Vesper. Yes, plug it in. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the CPU 8-pin is different from the PCIe. The PCIe goes into the GPU, yes, routed through the back. There's a hole in the panel, right? Yes, that's what we use for cable management. But alas, I've been trying, says Blue, but my VR and PC don't want to connect to each other. Oh dear. Now, why would that be? I wonder what could be the cause. Can't believe Blue has taken over the role of the fuzzy round object. It just means that we have to go see Let's walk around again. Yes. Vesper says, yeah, I was struggling with it because it's small craft mixed with bad eyesight. Sure, I have glasses, but they only have so much. Hey, we got it done in one sitting. 1 8-hour sitting. Hi there, Pascal. I feel like my lighting looks funny. What is the cause? Depth of field, perchance? Focus off. No. No. Strange. I go to pin 1. Now it disappears. A bit dark though. And pan the camera. Better, I think. Oh, to have aliasing. I wonder from what. But we had each our own frustrations as Vesper. Yes. I don't know, the cable won't work and Airlink doesn't do anything either. Have you tried making your computer a hotspot and letting your Quest connect to it directly? Perchance that's the answer. But then again, link cable doesn't work. Okay, I can change that this time. Man, wish I was a fly on the wall for that build experience. It was. I didn't even notice that so much time has passed. I was pegging it at maybe 3 hours, 3 hours and a half tops. And then lo and behold, it was like 3 a.m. And we started a little bit past dinner, Vesper's time. Hello, Gustavo. Beth says I tried to walk my friend through replacing their failed AIO CPU cooler. I've somehow managed to remove the CPU. How? What? You just AIO should just like twist it and it comes out. mm. Ard says to Beth's invitation to VR chat, you make a strong argument. Perhaps when things calm down a little in the next couple of weeks, do everyone will have to put up with some random free adding? That doesn't matter. Oh, we're back to the song again. What? Good than usual. Anyway. Hmm. Finding a what is your species again? It was a weird mix of like a bunny, a rabbit, a hare, and something with antlers. A jackalope, was it? I'm sure there's a bunch of jackalopes you can find. Right now, what is my frames here? You don't see it? Oh well, I think it's smooth enough. Chat, is my stream smooth? Smooth. Yes, good. As my drink, I could have sworn I procured a small bottle of. I think this is blueberry juice. A jackalope. It's part jackal and antelope. Jackrabbit. Hmm? I shall hydrate preemptively. I have a feeling. I need to start announcing on my Twitter that I'm actually streaming. But then again, the algorithm might drop me like, uh-oh, you have been getting good traction in your posts as of late. And now you're gonna post a link to another social media platform. Does this count as social media? I think it is. It's a jackrabbit and antelope, says Art. Oh, I always like your stickers. It was distinct, cute. The morning coffee, trying to rouse through a probably cold day. It's always hardest to fight blanket monsters when it's nice and chilly. You just want to be wrapped around them. Oh, cover it up. The coffee sticker is my vibe most morning. It means we need to get Beth some emotes. Art says, thank you. I appreciate it. The coffee one is definitely my most used. You can see why. How do I even look? Where's my stool? I feel like I'm floating. No, it's okay. Looks neutral. Fortunately, your subject is a little dark. Light is on the other side. If we're gonna have a Beth sticker, are we gonna use the Rex? I wonder. A bald Rex. It's gonna have a shiny head. Oh, to be friends with Carnauba Wax, but instead of polishing the exterior of your vehicle, nah, it's the exterior of your genius instead. That'd be funny to see. Not sure, so need to hop in to fix that one outfit. Oh, do you mean the clipping of the what was it called? A tank top, a sando? One of those ugly naked cat. You mean a blues cat? The spawn of British butter. Mm. And it's gotta be rather rotund, well fed, a little bit too much whiskas, or the funny churro treats that you give cats. Yes, agree, Splits. Oh, that was Lit who said it. I think Jinx is cute. It's like raw chicken, except still alive. They did convince me to remove the fur from the tail as well. Right? I think it adds character. These little imperfections and whatnot. it adds character, and I bet it's utterly amusing. Eric Sodium and the bald tail. Can you imagine? It's just gonna stick out like that. But I'm starting to imagine. It's gonna look so funny. Well, you know what? My tail is actually bald too. See, look. I don't have no fur on mine. Oh wait, no, I do. It's here. See, this part. Of course, I'm like corrupt. Oh well. I've never streamed in this world, so pardon my camera work. It's not the best. Please don't make it. It's gonna look like a rat's tail, right? So Beth's fur is, if I remember correctly, like a dark gray as the red eyes, and then the tail has to be like bold, bright, fleshy pink. mm. And then you know how when it lands on your arm, it has this weird. It's not wet, but sort of like sticky feeling there. Yes. My trowel needs me. Beth, I'll catch you later. I'll be here for the next 2 hours, plus anyway. Geb, next meetup, can it be a world that the Quest can join without the PCVR part? Oh gosh, please. For me being considerate, of course not, Blue. The terms still stand. You need to get your Quest and PC setup working. Ugh. Best worlds. To be fair, there are a lot of Quest nice looking worlds. But you will see the rest of us looking like horrendously low definition pixelated amalgams of our actual selves. Oh, well, I'm very, well, conditional with things. Before, when I was handling a bunch of my friends' avatars, I had to make sure that, especially in Vesper's case, one, the face tracking was working. Two, the face tracking was working on the Quest side of things too, which isn't easy. Three, I had a total of 10 megabytes for the whole avatar. So I had to do all sorts of tricks. You can't just put the same mesh that you're using for your PC version if it's high definition over for your Quest one. No. I had to go to Blender, I had to decimate it, remove the body beneath the clothes and whatnot, just so I can cut the file size down in order for Quest qualifications. It was a lot of work, not to mention the downscaling of the textures. Ugh. And then we're stuck with the mobile shaders. Goodness gracious, have you ever tried to make anything transparent for Questies? Alphas. Never again. I give up on making anything for Quest. Hello, Ajax. Ajax, are you the Tiger Bee mechanical, if I'm not mistaken, commenting on my TikToks all the time? Was it TikTok or Instagram? But I know you. And I'm thankful that you're there. It's always nice when people, well, leave a piece of their mind in the little things I upload. Instagram, there we go. Thank you for being there, Ajax. You might think I don't read the comments. I actually read everything. I just am unable to reply to all of them given the number. I check all the comments. I check all of the reposts and the quotes on it. Heck, I even check the stories. Oh, we're about to be joined by my companion, Vesper Starfy. Hello, Davy. Please, you flatter me. I'm just any other regular Joe. Oh. That's a setup I don't need to do as well, says Art. I used to have PCVR set up on my old headset, but the new one hasn't been yet. It sounds like a task you need to accomplish then. Come on. Can you imagine being our friends with the lovely community that we have? Ooh, wow, my FPS super tagged. Hello, Vince. I am not sure how you're gonna
Hello.
light up here, but come on, come here to the sun. Let's see how you look. There we go. My goodness, I was worried you were gonna look abnormal. How about you come here and go sit by the pool table? Yes, chat. Vesper's here. Hold on. Hello, Lab. Looking fantastic
Hello.
as usual. Now let's set up one of the cameras to look at Vesper. And let's make it this one. There we go. Oh, wow. This is terrible. How do I frame this? Here, zoom down. Here. Your front view is not bad. See it first. Oh no, the funny shimmering effect is still there. There we go, chat. You may want to move a teeny tiny bit forward. You're clipping into the pillow.
Oops.
There we go. Perfect. Now you can get to see the good bits, which is Vesper. Well, you are the good bit. Right, chat. Hey, companion. She's a beaut. Remember, Ajax, you were wondering who the other person in the video was. And there you go. That's Vesper.
That's me.
You may want to adjust the mic sensitivity and noise suppression because I think I hear my voice echoing every now and then. I don't know. Let's see. I'll let you know when it happens again. What a flat angle. There. So there's a full body. I think I'll commit pin 1 to best behavior. Look at me. There you go. Ain't she a beauty, champ? Not overdone. Just right. Surprisingly looks great in the background too. How about here? This is better. Perfect. So yes, come on, say hi to chat. Looks like I have a little sister. Come on, come on,
Hi.
say hi to chat. There you go. She even has the same mark on her hand. That's great. Of course, that's special. Only one person may ever have the same arrow as I do. Where were we? Another tiger bee. Is Ajax a tiger bee? I don't remember. Are you? Probably a world setting in order to get this weird outline, the shimmering white around me to be fixed. Na free. Na frighty, na frighty. Hi there. Greetings. If I remember correctly, you are that vixen that kitsune that has tentacles. Yes. Can you try speaking in a Spanish accent? Oh, please, I would not wish to do disrespect to Drax, who is Spanish himself. Oh no, I'm a Manokid. Oh, with a nice big old nose, I remember. I thought Ajax was a tiger bee. I could only make up so much detail looking at that little thumbnail whenever Ajax makes a comment on my posts. Big schnoz and flippers, yes. I'm watching you. I mean, you quite literally are. And I'm thankful for that. Yeah. Now I can actually hear what I'm saying. So whenever I go stream with my new mic, it doesn't have the side tone. Side tone is where we can hear what you're saying through the microphone. It feedbacks into your headphones. Now I just unplug one of my earbuds and yes, a very simple solution. Suddenly realize you've seen my Twitter posts. Oh, you know me, I check people out. I also thought the lighting gave you a new hair dye. Oh, you mean the reds? No, it just adds a nice bit of contrasty flair.
Yeah, Geb doesn't dye his hair.
Anything but that. The only one with color on her hair is Vesper here. Very orange. So do you have breakfast yet?
Oh, yep. I did.
Good.
That's what I came back from. Well, that's why I was late to getting to stream. Well, eating, then getting my way there.
Don't worry about it. Her hoodie reminds me of the anime Naruto. I mean, it's yes. It does because of the orange and yes, she is very much from one of the ninja villages. Hey, it's a good look. Gosh, hold on. That's weird. You can see the word Street Fighter in the background. I'm not sure if we should show that. There we go. Narrowing up the aperture. Now, anyway, quite the amount of viewers today. I'm losing where the camera is. There you are, gotcha. So yes, hi chat. Good morning. Well, good evening rather. Sorry, it's 11:13 p.m. here, plus 8 GMT. I'm Geb. This is what I do on stream. I chat. And this is Vesper. She. Oh, did you get the overlay working finally in game?
Yeah.
Like
I'm
Exosoul
not
overlay
lagging.
layout mode. Fantastic. What do you know?
Still running smooth as butter too.
So you can like see the messages and everything.
Yeah.
And how the stream looks. Great.
Yep, and you're
Nah.
not like jittering around because of it.
Fantastic. Top randos from Street Fighter 6 interrupting your twist. Twist? I've always wondered how to pronounce that properly. Right. Well, I'm going to put that alongside the pile of other unsolicited DMs that I have yet to read, but I appreciate the share. This place is starting to grow on me, kind of like the lighting. I'll add this to the rotation of places. Oh, a calf. Why, I wonder. It's made of gold and something else mixed in. It's 11:13 a.m. here, the polar opposite to my time zone, says Ajax. I actually really need to charge my phone, but it was lovely getting to talk to you and lovely Vesper. I'll see you around, Ajax. I'll probably go post something this week and this weekend. A little hard to manage content when it's, well, you're a one-man team. You have to stream, you have to handle the Discord and community, and then you have to go sift through your own VODs, hours of it, see if there's anything that's, well, worth a nugget of wisdom in it, and then we post it. But yeah, see you, Ajax. Thank you for the kind words. Waffle Carp says hello and didn't expect live stream so soon from you. Well, here we are. I go Ninja Vanish. Bye bye. It's midweek and also mid-month. Yesterday, the landlord took a big chunk of the little paper bills I have in my wallet. It's like, enjoying your new unit? I'm glad. Pay up. Just a key, of course. I mean, I have to pay up. It's expensive but necessary. Such is living in a place you don't own. You have to pay for rent. I like how in this place the leaves are, well, you can see the leaves are over there. The leaves are swaying along with the wind. So subsequently the shadows being casted is also moving. Cool. Oh wait, almost forgot. I need to check Discord if things updated. Yep, that's the freebie with the DM. The last one was 2 months ago, and it's a picture of her butt cleanly obscured by black shadow. Okay, yep, shelving that. Good. Hey guys, only DM me when it's important, please. Okay, on my Discord, the stream pings are on. Great. Mr. Fluffy is still alone in the drive-thru. I wonder if he fell asleep. He did say hello on stream earlier, but I didn't know you did competitive sweeping, says Beth to Art, who posted some art of himself doing what I believe is curling. Either that or, well, as Beth said, competitive sweeping. Pascal here, our flight attendant, if I remember correctly, has been sharing in the food channel what seems to be a ball of black rice, some fish with some garlic sauteed on top, a red chili, some, what is that? Cabbage? Corn? I don't know. I would eat the food that the passenger didn't eat. I am in game. Ah, yes. Feeling handsome with oneself yet again. I'm glad you're able to find time to play VR chat against Fluffy. Oh, I want to play more Battlefield in the US servers, but my goodness, my performance was atrocious. I remember a round where I only got like 4 kills. I went back to playing with the Chinese earlier. At least I'm like decent. I'm like top 5. I'm just starting to suck. Art says it is. I've been curling for a number of years. Oh, wow. So you. Come on, friction coefficient lower, lower. And so I have a gold medal because it's slid more. Must run to work. We'll pop back in if you're streaming later. I will be online for 2 more hours. But yes, see ya, Aaron. Did the computer building go well, Vesper? Asked Schwaffle. Did it? It did, right?
Yep.
Must be nice having a system that's not overly taxed. Lots of
Yes,
muscle
because I
in that
can actually,
processor.
yeah. So now I can actually see things properly rather than, well, stutter through limited frame rate.
So it has currently been 3 days since I've been bikeless. I now find myself ever so increasingly craving the feel of being able to go to places without walking. It's like, I feel like restocking over at the Korean Mart close to my place. I'll just do a quick run and I was like, oh wait. Right, I don't have a bike no more. Guess that can wait for next time. Next year. So I shall go buy groceries again after a year's time. I hope I survive till then. I'm just gonna buy the cheap food that they can deliver to my place. I don't know. I don't want to commute. Commuting in the Philippines is a terribly arduous ordeal. Atrocious. Truly. I can't believe it's already been 43 minutes. I feel like I started my stream like 10 minutes ago. It's like, First withdrawal symptoms already showing. God, all it's. Bye bye. I need to be able to go shopping. Broom, broom over at the stoplight. Losing it, Chad. Hasn't even been a week. Oh, God. Riding motorcycles here in VR chat just isn't the same. You don't feel the balance, you don't feel the wind. Ooh, good. You could just put a fan in front of you and let it. Eventually, you'll start hear the Noko Noko Tan song. Oh, the I know the other. What do they say? It's like the build up song. It's a nonsense. Like what? What moments? We need to continue watching that. By the way, I forgot what episode we're at. A small
bit for the Africa Twin.
A small. Oh my God! Thank you so much, Fluffy. I appreciate it. We'll get there. We'll get to the bike, one step at a time, 1 mile at a time. Eventually. When was the longest you didn't have a bike in between having a bike, Fluffy? Like, no bike, no car either. And you are all but forced to walk if you want to get anywhere or hail a cab, which is expensive. Then again, walking in your country probably is a delightful experience. Nice fresh air, paved roads, and pedestrians that actually are educated up here. Here, no. To be honest, no vehicle at all since I got my license, but my license revoked. Why did your license get revoked twice? Did you do the six gear with six gear all the way challenge that I did? I'm tuning in from work. Hello, Axel. I hear you loud and clear. Good luck during your shift. I don't remember what you do for a living. Matthew is the dish attendant that washes them. Axel is a waiter? Random guess. Let's just say not driving as rules dictate. Ah, so Fluffy went brooming. I see. It's worth it. Only how? Oh, so you're doing your OJT. I'm sorry. Here we call working your hours for your school, like on the job training or OJT, being an intern. Is that the same thing in yours, Ves?
On the job training.
Yeah, on the job training.
I mean, we have internships where basically you work, but you don't get paid.
Yep, exactly.
And
Unless
that's
it's
part
a
of
discretion
school.
of the company. Yeah, it's part of school. You need like 40 hours of work rendered under a specific, like a company that's related to
Yeah, we've
what you're
got that
studying.
written pretty much. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
all that
okay.
work, no pay.
Yeah, all that work, no pay. And you gotta pay for the tuition too, which is kind of sucks.
Painful.
Hello, Eric. It's painful, yes. Slave labor. Oh, so you know the ins and outs of actually working. Sure. If you want me to know how it is to be actually working, you give me the pay part of the actually working thing. Funny, most of the OJTs, the internships here, 8 out of 10 times from what I've heard, was either just make coffee because they don't want it to mess anything up in like the production line and or whatever they're working on, right? So that's understandable. Or you're just there to photocopy things, the most menial brain dead, brainless stuff. And you have to do
Yikes.
40 hours of that, yeah. So essentially, you sit around, they order you, they give you like a fancy report. Oh, yes, student A did some stuff in the company. Mm. Hmm. What's this? Axel says this isn't through my school. This is separate from that, and it's a paid internship. I'm glad you're getting money. Axel, why are you getting your Quest Pro so you can just be like Fluffy? Ain't it nice to be hanging out in the same instance, showing each other your facial expressions? I was telling him the same thing, right? It's an enormous leap coming from your, gosh, what was it? The CV1. It seems to be extraordinarily toasty today. Should have probably set my AC to max. My left controller is starting to quit on me, so I've been thinking about it. You probably should before you, like, end up being completely crippled. Seeing as how you enjoy your time in VR chat and you have such lovely people around you, I don't see why not. Right? As I was talking in one of my videos as of late, VR chat is that bridge you can have to connect with people, your dear loved ones, online. Join the crippled. We're gonna see Litz go roll in on all four wheels of a wheelchair next time. Okay, I'm sorry. Ah, my base station is just not agreeing with me, so I've decided to cripple myself IRL. Oh, it syncs with how I am in game. Already am mentally. You, boy, simply need a big old cup of confidence based on the assessment I have of you. I'm sure Big Bro Pussy Slitter Fluffy over here can help you with that, at least in my absence. You just gotta have a little bit of a backbone, Axel. Believe in yourself a bit more. Have, as I've said, some confidence. Look at Vesper here. I remember way back then, last year, she had very little of what I'm prescribing you, Axel. It took a while for her to grow some muscles in the courage department.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Just, oh god, I got college classes, this, that, and the other thing. I'm just gonna, hide away, pretend I don't exist for a good while, But
Yeah,
nah, I deserve to occupy space.
precisely. Have a little bit of pride. If you go mix in pride and understanding, you're gonna end up being wise and confident at the same time. You've grown a lot, Vesp. Congratulations. I was confident when I played baseball, says Axel. I haven't been able to play in a while now, though. I mean, is a baseball the only spherical object that you can toss around? Or bat? What I mean is, you can find yourself through other things, not just a singular one. Oh, I think my AC is now blowing cold air. Just for now, I'm gonna go like here, where the wind is. Ah. Hi. Hydrate. I'm hydrating more than usual because of the sweat. Note to Quest Pro users. Make sure you wear a head cap if you're in an environment which will constitute you having to dehydrate yourself through porous excretion, aka sweat, if you want your face tracking to last.
Thankfully for me, it's cold half the year.
You live inside. I think it's 28 degrees Celsius right now where I am, Ves, and that's with AC. I feel sticky. May Asakura. I'm not gonna read the first part. Not for free. Hello, everyone. There you go, rephrase. How are you doing today? I am feeling hot. I think my AC is set to not the correct temperature because normally it's comfortably cold. Not in this case. It's more of a get out of my batter's box and throwing the ball hard as I can. I was able to get it to 85-ish mph. I'll assume that's an impressive number and give you a nice thumbs up for the achievement, actually. And I am sitting here making some fire so the room warms up. I would very much have cold than heat. Yeah. Warm, humid, it's icky. Cold, you just shiver and you want to wear more fashionable clothes to put on layers over your skin. And you don't sweat. I wonder how fast Liz can throw balls around. Given that she throws bricks, it's probably gonna be just as impressive. Not only the heat, says Pascal, humid heat or stale air with no circulation. Precisely. So hot. I have a feeling on what to do. But I will have to disappear from frame and I may need to recalibrate. Never mind. I'll just tolerate it. Hello, Ivan. It's fun to tell people that I'll never hit them on accident. I'm gonna go. Where's that door? Open sesame. There we go. Let some of that nice AC air in. Hi, that's my tail chat. Sorry. Why is it so toasty? Take a peek. I am mildly concerned. Yeah, it is set to 21. I wonder if I can set my AC to jet mode from here because it's really hot. But it's the one in the pantry that's... It's a bit out of range. No, I got it. Come on, remote. Press. There we go. That should help alleviate the temperature. Why is it so hot? Hopefully your unit is not condensing. I probably just need to give my filters a good wash. Lucky, these filters are very easy to clean. 1 minute ordeal. Just go with hot water from my shower and then my hair dryer set on cold to blast all the excess water out. You need to keep the house and apartment warm as well. It's not just your own skin. I remember trying baseball before Axel. I think I was 13 or 14 years old, because I saw my friends doing it, and I realized I was afraid of catching balls to the face. Getting hit, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Okay. Because look, when you see something speeding at you, at let's say how quickly Axel throws it.
I know. It's just the way you said it.
Right? So yes. Litsa says, meanwhile, like Fluffy, I'm also turning on the heat every day and urinating for black. That, I feel like, is so comfortable. So cold. You want to just slink into the blankets. Cozy. The sweat is not going to give you problems. It's nice to invite somebody to warm you up, right? In the heat, it's the opposite. You'll hate anything that comes within proximity of you. Have you ever tried and cuddle up to another person and you're both sweaty and you just like stick to each other like a post-it note on a wall? Hmm. Yes. Not fun. Are you the guy I keep on seeing on TikTok? Considering there's millions of us users there, I could be probably part of the statistic, yes. Unless you're precise with the source material you're gonna reference as to why you say it's me. Fluffy says the best thing about having a fireplace, a chimney in the house, it makes it so cozy. Ah, I can imagine. Fireplace, huh?
Almost doing things we used to do.
Summer is my nemesis. Here it's either dry hot summer or wet hot summer.
And she's almost
Washington says, damn, it appears I've stumbled upon the calm streets of Twitch. Hi there, welcome. Oh, look, it's a furry who actually doesn't do the lewd cringe stuff. An impossibility. But yes, hi. I try to be as wholesome as I can. Hello, Melon. Lit says, we wish we had a fireplace here too, but sadly not. Ah. Oh dear.
flirting with this disaster became
You don't do that blasphemy, right?
it named me
We're challenging stereotypes every day of you. Please. They've said lewd tubers are a dime a dozen nowadays. They can do what they're doing. Nothing wrong with that. It's just not my jam. Not the song, tune that I sing to.
all the things that you promised with your eyes.
Let's say hello to Vesper. I was sunk into the floor. I need to adjust the camera. There we go. Zzz.
From crying.
It's the two of us. Oh, okay. There we go. Now don't worry about it. You're good.
I was about to say, am I actually sunk to the floor?
No, no,
No.
no. You're good. You're good. It's just a sitting posture. Don't worry about it. Raccooniverse. It sounds like something Litz would name something within her vicinity. How can you all live with yourself like this? I like it. Hello, Vesper says true. And Wask. That is indeed a wonderful name. Raccooniverse. Sounds like a franchise in which it's filled with nothing but raccoons and the like. Feeling my eye track is a bit off. There. My headset was just lopsided. So, it's midweek. I know Axel is about to start classes. He's just concluding a bit of his internship. Fluffy here is just doing fluffy things while in VR and probably watching me in game. What is the rest of you doing this fine Wednesday? I am not in VRV. Oh, God. Totally not envious or anything. Man. Have you unlocked the SV98 yet, Fluffy? I'm curious about that high-powered DMR. Procrastinating my midterm essay to work on a fantastic. Working through pressure. Just gotta wait until it. Oops, it's getting a bit late and I gotta work on my staff. Pascal says we landed in Norway a few hours ago. Just had some dinner and laying down, chilling after a tiresome flight. I see. So get your rest. School for Grumpy. Not gonna do anything. Fantastic. Just exist. It's nice, but no straight pull ball. Oh, so you lose your sight each time. Oh, God. I discovered a setting in Battlefield 6 which lets me automatically prone each time I aim down on sights, regardless if I have a bipod or not, and it's an enormous help. It is in one of the toggle settings. Instead of mounting being combo, you set it to aim down sights. Something I'm eager to try later. Maybe we can distract Vesper with some schoolwork she has to do or something, so I have like an excuse to play Battlefield. Now. Oh, I can hear the menu. That's bizarre. There we go. Chilling after work, says Wask. Having a snack and soon going out on a bike. A bike? A motorbike? A pedal bike? Leveling a character and keeping the fire going in the fireplace. Leveling a character. Are you playing an MMORPG perchance? Me and Vesper braved the long queue. Surprisingly, there's a queue again in New World last night, so we could take a peek into the Season 10 content, and the rework kind of surprised us actually. They threw like 100 plus points of stats that we had to redistribute. They took it away from gear. They replaced it with like new perks and whatnot. Seems okay. But yes, if you're curious about what game Vesper and I are playing right now, it's a toss between Helldivers 2 and New World Aeternum. Give me the fire. I yearn for the controllers. Yes. I haven't played New Litz. If you log in now, they're gonna give you the DLC Rise of the Angry Earth for free. You don't have to pay $30 or euros anymore. Based on what I've read. So you get to have your mounts and everything. You're more than welcome to come play with us because Vesper and I are actually really having fun. We're still going to the main quest. We're only level 50 something. And right now the level cap is 17. It's nice. I remember when New World launched, it was very nice. And then it started to suck for a long while. And then now it's very nicer because they apparently reworked the leveling experience. The main story quest is more properly organized and presented. A mountain bike. Good for the legs. Destiny 2. I have Destiny 2. But after I bought the game and I was plopped into the hub, I felt lost. There was no direction for me to go, and like, what I do now? I see portions of the game are missing because they took away some of the original campaign, and it's like, how do I enjoy the story if you take away good tidbits of it? So I kind of like put that in stasis. That says game was kind of boring for me. I don't know. I'm not one to grind in mini games. Well, understandable. I just wanted to have a MMO to go introduce to Vesper. It's her first time playing it. What are your thoughts on New World so far, Vesper?
So far, I've had fun. So,
Right.
you know, lots of things to interact with, lots of side quests, lots of customization that you can do with the armors and all that. Well, haven't quite unlocked it with the Stylemancer, because there's some overlays, sort of things that actually pique my interest. It's just, why do they cost?
They're expensive, that's what. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
MMOs
not
are
like
nice.
currency you can
When-
earn in game. It's
You know,
currency
yeah,
that
that's
you
the
have to
thing.
buy.
Oh, this makes me miss like Guild Wars 2 because you could there's like dice. What you could dye your armor in this other MMO I used to play, and what you all you have to do is like get the dice. They sometimes drop. They're rare, and there's so many dice. Like sometimes you change the material from leather to like golden sheen, and then you can freely change how your armor looks permanently anytime with no cost. Unfortunately, in New World, I think we need to pay in order for them to make money from giving us a free DLC.
Mm-hmm.
The company needs to keep afloat. It's a necessity. But in MMOs, Vesper, once the end game is pretty much always either gearing up for high level raids, PvP, or fashion. You get the gear to look nice. You sort of dress up your character. Guild Wars 2 was nice because there's like dynamic events, the whole living world thing that they have going. Oh wow, my butt hurts. Okay. It's fun. Wasping says about mountain biking. Some may say it's good for the legs. Some might say it's suffering, but it's both at the same time. No pain, no gain. I just started Guild Wars 2. The art direction is cool. Guild Wars 2 is fun. I remember playing it when it first came out. More than 10 years ago. And then I stopped playing for 10 years. And when I logged back in, I think last year, I was like, oh my goodness, there's so many gifts and whatnot and stuff I get to catch up to. But the game is starting to show its age, especially in the graphics department. MMOs are nice. Probably because I'm Southeast Asian. We guys are addicted to MMOs. If you've heard of Ragnarok Online, that's been in our lifeblood ever since. I think to Americans, the equivalent is it starts from Maple Story and then it went into World of Warcraft. No, there was RuneScape as well for the more blessed with patience people.
Yeah, I don't think I'm one of them.
Oh, the Vesper, you only started playing games when? Like, not more than a year.
Yeah, it wasn't until November of last year that I was able to finally get into PC VR.
True, true. Hey, at least you're having fun with it, right?
Hmm.
Yes.
You're clipping
Oh,
into the
I'm
table, but
clipping
they
into the
can't see it.
table. It's okay. Don't worry about it. You see, Vesper here used to simply play. What was that? Roblox.
Yeah, that's turned into a hell site, so no thank you.
Gosh. Looks like a good platform for those wanting to get into game development, from what I've read. But well, some recent news, it's not something I would openly promote for people to play.
Yeah, no, it's a quote-unquote easy platform to get into making games, but at the same time, the people, the company, it's just...
Just A. It's just A. This is such an unflattering angle, right? There we go. It's like, I'll just keep anonymous. Like they don't know what my face looks like. Ooh, who could I be? Chat. Am I game? There. No,
You're a
your
dwarf, that's what.
your face can still be visible. I have to like crouch so I can see. Okay, the temperature is slowly equalizing. Thank you. But I'm still gonna sit here in the soft part. Hmm. Rather quiet evening today. Good. It means I can browse through Discord. Your 2D art. So earlier, Pierre Oglyphics has posted some cool looking stuff. I did not know Pierre had what looks to be anatomically correct number of things on their torso. 6 of them? I think there's more.
All stylistic, I assume.
Pardon?
But all stylistic, I assume, that's a...
And it's starting to catch up. Oh no. Because of the increased temperature. No, the decreased temperature of me adjusting my AC, I'm starting to feel mildly. What is the proper term? Enthralled by the soft sheets and blankets of my bed. Oh dear.
making you sleepy.
Mildly. Also, I think because of me not sleeping on time for the past 2 or 3 days, I have noticed I am unable to sleep for 8 hours straight anymore. I have moved into biphasic sleep. I sleep for 4 hours, I wake up naturally, I end up feeling not fully rested, but I can't quite fall back asleep again, and yes, it's not nice. When you lack sleep, you start becoming more irate, Chan. You have a shorter fuse on things. I'm not a big fan of coffee. Well, I'm a fan of how it tastes, how it smells, how it looks. Just not how it feels on the body. This gives me jitters.
Even decaf isn't truly caffeine free.
It's just caffeine.
It's
Little.
just less caffeine.
Like skim milk, like low fat milk.
Mhm.
Sleep is very important for learning. Oh, yes, I agree with that. I always prioritize sleep over anything else, and I get absolutely pissed when somebody interrupts me while I'm sleeping. Lit says. Also, the last stream did make me sketch out human Vesper to an extent. I am curious as to how that looks, and I bet Vesper here is just as intrigued. Human Vesper, huh? I mean, if you tuck her ears, you can sort of see how it looks. Going over. Look at that visage of hers, right? Squint. Imagine it's not there. Give her like orange eyes. She's a rather tall-ish woman. Not exactly Asian short. And then there's her outfit, yes. The short shorts with the leggings. Her cool hoodie. There you go. Visualization. What? You want to wear something else?
I was just saying, no, I'm not Asian. I'm just literally white as one of those sheet ghosts you see in media.
Vesper isn't exaggerating. She is. Should I share your ethnicity? She is half German and half American, so. Yeah, she is gonna need a whole lot of sunscreen if and when she decides to go visit the beach in my country.
Yeah, I already slathered sunscreen on either way, because I don't want to be lobster red.
Yes, you are gonna end up lobster red. Geb, what would look like your last stream? Would it be a normal stream or something like what? I did not understand your syntax. Ivan, you may need to rephrase your sentence. As nice as warm coffee is, says Wafflecarp, I let it go cold and have cold coffee. Nothing wrong with that. I used to make cold brew. So you just put your coffee ground into a big old jar, water, cover the top, put it in the fridge overnight. The next day, it's delicious. Deliciously jittery. Yes, she is half German. Hello, Lux. I think they're asking what their final ever stream is. I don't know. I can't see into the future. Yes, did you not know? What?
Just look over at me like, with the whitest look.
Welcome to the club, says Litz. Oh, we forget that Litz is also half German. If I remember, she's half Vietnamese. She's very much spring rolls and banh mi. Not to mention Po. I have a feeling though that the Asian in Litz is stronger than the European that you have. Based on our little conversations about rice and anime and stuff.
Yes, meanwhile, I'm on seasoned chicken and
Yes,
sour
you're unseasoned chicken. You're all but German in description. Man, same as me. No, never mind. I'm half Chinese. I'm half Filipino. So I'm 100% Asian. I love rice. I love dumplings. I cannot live without any of either of those. And
You'd be shocked if you
Asian
came to the US because we don't eat rice with every meal.
right? It's strange. I get maybe corn and the carrots and peas or mashed potatoes, but here in Asia, anything that has pork, beef, chicken, or fish is all pretty much always accompanied by nice cooked rice. Get me started on the fried rice that we have. Oh, you put some omelette in it, the aforementioned vegetables earlier, the corn, and then you sometimes sprinkle some shredded salted fish on it, right? A tiny touch of butter. Like, cook it over high heat in the wok. Make sure you get it moving. You smell the aroma, pour it over a plate, enjoy it with some sweet and sour pork, some braised beef, or some steamed fish with ginger. Ah, fantastic. Workday over. Bye, Axel. Thanks for dropping by. I wish I could eat more Asian stuff, says Litz. Ah, but the BF is so picky. Oh well.
I mean, who's to say you don't make that for yourself and make something out like, and he could just fend for himself every once in a while, you know?
Yeah, why do you have to have the other person have you be so dependent on them when it comes to food choices? You are your own person, aren't you, Lance? But then again, I'm gonna like give Vesper all sorts of nice food when she visits here. I keep on telling her you're gonna end up fat because it's super delicious, the meals that we have here in the restaurants and whatnot. Ah, yes. To come from a family that offers nothing but bland cooking. What is that? The canned ravioli. Yeah, I had that. I had that like a few months ago. It was the saddest, squishiest, tasteless thing I've had. I thought it was like
no, I'm not keen
lasagna
on
in a
canned
can.
ravioli.
Hello, yo, Boosh from Canada. Let's says, no, I am something that we call meatloafer. Meatloafer? What's that? A meat lover? A meatloaf? A meat lover. Fluffy. German. Translate. Please. As long as it wasn't canned turkey. I've seen canned whole chicken. And when you extract it from the tin container that it was encased in, it resembled what would be like a birthing scene. All of that dried, no, all of that sticky, solidified goop that comes along with it. Ugh. Not exactly appetizing. I assume canned turkey is pretty much the same.
Yeah, no, that goop's all gelatin.
Ew. Lux says, is it true that some of the KFCs? Are you telling me you don't get one-piece chicken with rice as the regular there? Yeah, it's always chicken with rice. I cannot eat. I mean, yeah, I can eat chicken with no rice, but it's delicious with rice. You don't say, it's a sight to behold. Yeah, you get. Enjoy. Delicious. Lit says it's a person that just goes with whatever the other people do want every time. but not wanting to do anything to stand out. So let's loser. Loser. Dork. Just joking. I understand wanting to keep a low profile, but at least yeah, now you definitely ain't the winner. That's for sure. So I'm gonna read the description again. It's a person that just goes with whatever the other people do or want every time. So that's a spineless. What else? Yeah, pretty much a spineless person. Bully bait. That's synonymous with. Pathetic. Don't be, please. It's one to be considerate. It's one to be nice. It's another to be just a spineless, pathetic person. Damn. I feel bad because like you want something but you don't have the courage to voice it out and you just let your peers or your friends, your significant other decide for you. How do you grow as a person? How do you get a direction in life as that? What are you, a plant? Uh, you know, I'm sorry. My words may seem harsh, they may sting, but I've always been a person who's all about personal integrity and standing up for themselves, being able to make decisions and live with them, stand by them. When I see people that are nothing but reeds being blown around with the wind, it's a little hard to see them on equal footing, if you know what I mean. Listen, Strauss says, some people are afraid to stand out in a way that risks getting outcasted. It's sad, but getting out of your comfort zone on your own merit is the best remedy. That's true. There's a difference between not wanting to stand out and you being forcibly put outside of your comfort zone by factors outside of you, people per se. Right? That's just a typical case of a dork, a loser being pushed around by bullies. So, I myself don't want to stand out too. Why? I just don't want to be bothered by other people, period. Like, oh, Geb, I heard you're great with fixing the. No, I'm terrible at it. Good luck. Unless you're a close friend or like your Vesper who I had to invest 8 hours into building a computer with. I cannot be arsed with doing the same for most other people. Mm-mm. Oh, 3 plus 5 is 2? Well, congratulations, you're correct. Now please move away from my residence and do your thing over there.
I seek guidance, but at the same time, I'm not letting myself be trampled just for the sake of pleasing others.
There you go. Being trampled, being a doormat. That was Vesper's old situation with her old friend group that she shared on stream before, right? Thank goodness we got you out of that situation. It's difficult because you're gonna find yourself in a cycle where you're unable to say no and you're stuck there, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
Because you're stuck there. You yourself are unable to muster the willpower, the realization to get yourself out of there.
Mm.
It's a nasty cycle. So yeah. Sometimes it takes another person to go smack you on the cheek so you would what? Where am I? This deep into the shit? Thank you for waking me up. But some people don't want to wake up. That's the thing. Need to keep the skills and talent hidden so you don't get asked to do things to help her. Uh, yeah. Now, I'm gonna encroach upon a topic I consider taboo on stream, but we are on discussion anyway. Sort of like how people are. I learned this term from a friend. She told me she is something like religious by convenience or necessity, just so she doesn't get pestered by the overly religious family members. She's just gonna go, oh, fine, okay, let's do the quota, go with you to church and whatnot, right? Just so that she doesn't get bothered. So she sort of like keeps maintaining a baseline level of participation. But she's not really a devout follower. Something like that. Me, I just say no thank you, I'm good. Let me rephrase. I hold no respect to individuals that are unwilling to help themselves. But if you genuinely have the intention of bettering yourself, of getting yourself out of the situation that you see yourself stuck in, I will lend my hand towards you. Yes, this is the Hydragia by Tokyozilla. You two should play pool while you're there. That... You know what? That actually sounds fun. I don't know how to play pool properly, but...
I don't know how to play it either.
Maybe later, let's see. Waiting for my
Stop
Migo
accidentally
right
opening it.
Oh, what do you mean? Is it open? Billiards. Oh, we can
There's
get
a
rid
power
of the
button.
table. Okay, it's a good accessory piece. The Tokyo... No, sorry. The Hydragia by Tokyozilla is a delightful avatar indeed. But set your expectations right though, because this isn't the base face tracking template that the avatar comes with, and the rest of the anatomy as well. This is a personally tweaked kit bash. I just don't want people like bothering Tokyo, like Neo, about like, hey, I saw this guy with the Hydra. How come the one I bought from the store doesn't look the same? I was contemplating on the Zerg, but this one just is the shoe that fits the best. It says pool IRL is really fun, but a bit exhausting cause short arms. I mean, they have the small pool tables, right? Look, the pool tables are very expensive here. I remember here in the provinces, like the countryside, instead of having pool ball, like billiard balls, they would have little discs of wood. And on the pool table, instead of it being coated with that like green cloth thing, it's like with powder and like polished wood. And you would like and do the same motions, and then the discs would hit each other. You know, I haven't seen Axiom in a while, says Ivan. He is currently playing Elite Dangerous. I saw the pop up on my Steam friends list a few minutes ago. That's pretty funky, yeah. But hey, whatever works, right? Or rowing a table. I don't know what they call it. I just see the older folk doing it. I remember when I was younger, I said, I want to play pool too. And then my uncle devised, like, he got a plank of wood, sawed it up. So it's a nice square thing, right? He put 6 pieces of nails on each corner and then in the middle across. And then he just put some garter around. And then instead of billiard balls, we would use marbles. Marbles and I think chopsticks. It was a fun little thing. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but yeah, marbles. When I was younger, I used to play marbles a lot. I would always buy this pack of assorted marbles, and then there was this one pack I got in particular that was like, it was made of pure white. It was opaque marbles. Normally you get glass marbles, right? And then when you look at them, they have like funny little ribbons or patterns inside. Now, of course, the white marbles were valued higher. And then we had the Gigantor marbles, right? It's like 5 times larger. So me and the local kids would gather around. We would go draw on the ground a circle. We would take a few steps back. We would put our bets, oops, sorry, I'm inside the table. Let me turn this off. So there's a circle there, right? And then there would like 4 or 5 marbles, one from each participant. And what we would do is we would go our first turn would be we would try to throw marbles and then see if we could knock the marble out. The marble that gets knocked out is the one that you get to take home, right? And sometimes you have to go down and then like psh, like that. You have to go flick it from your thumb, like in whatever like style that you want, and it was fun. It was a fun game. Did you have any sort of games like that when you were younger?
Can't say that I played marbles when I was younger because my parents were like, "Oh, it's glass. You're not to be trusted with glass." Oh yeah, I've also got another store with marbles. So yeah, my parents especially didn't want us around marbles, or at least one of my siblings.
Oh, I remember. Right.
But yeah, during one of those quote-unquote autism camps where basically, oh, you don't want to deal with your autistic kid? Okay, there's like 3 weeks of autism camp, so you go over to the school, we'll keep them entertained for like a few hours. I hated it.
Oh my god.
So yeah, we were just sitting there playing marbles because the teacher brought
Okay. Oops, she died. Freeze frame.
Oh.
Hi. She's back. Ish. I would not be able
I'm still here.
to go keep my composure if you were to tell my younger self that there's an autism camp, I would, you
Half the
know,
time I was helping the if whatever person was charged with taking care of us, just wrangling the other kids, cause like, oh hey, this one's trying to run out the door. Fuck no.
language. Minus 10 points to House Starvale. But yes.
Okay.
Autism camp, huh? Boy, would I have it. Me and my buddies would have quite the time there. I'm not sure how many people were present that time during Virality Somna. I remember my tracker is running out of batteries. And, well, thank goodness Matthew was there, ever so considerate about my plight, my situation. And as I plugged in my trackers for recharging, which took like 30 minutes, he morphed himself into a wheelchair. And I was being wheelchaired around the venue. Until then, I have a photo in my Discord. It's the one where it's like that. You need to check it out.
But yeah, probably honestly wouldn't blame you for like laughing about it, because like we weren't even allowed to like go to the pool because one kid nearly drowned one year. So it's just yes, you want to go swimming? Okay, let's go to this toddler splash pad.
What is a toddler splash? Oh, you mean like the little inflatable things that's like 3
Yes.
inches deep?
Not. Yep, or like it was like these little park things. Like, okay, there's water constantly running through them, right?
Mhm.
It was like up to my hip, and it's just, how am I supposed to have fun here? I'm like, the last time I was there, I was 15.
AK, it was just the other day.
Yeah. Either way, like, it wasn't very age appropriate for me. So it's just, you know what?
So you're telling me
am-
the autistic kids you were with were like younger in bracket.
No, not younger in bracket. They were the same age. In mental bracket, though, yes.
Wait, you said that it didn't like fit you or something. Under what category would that be then? Sorry, I'm hydrating, Chan.
They didn't want any of the kids drowning, so it's just, we're taking you to a toddler splash pad instead of the
I heard-
pool
I
at the
heard that
local high
part.
school.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't really suit me because, number one, I was 15.
And they
I
were
acted-
15 too.
and- Yeah, they were 15 too, but at the same time, they were like higher needs and frankly acted a lot younger than they actually were.
So they were Autism Pro Max. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
So
I
yeah,
see
that's
that.
why I had to help the quote-unquote teacher with them.
Mm. Ha. Right. Oh, I hope you don't mind me just alt tabbing real quick into into Discord. What did Lux post? Loser. My god, what is this? Lit says it's a person that just goes with whatever the other people do want every time, but not wanting to do anything to stand out. So Lit said, loser. Loser. Dork. I mean, it's is cool. Don't worry. I may call her a loser dog, but she's cool. Oh, hi, Bev. How was your time with your trial? Damn, says Liz. Again, a gentle reminder. The more I poke fun at you, it means the more I like you. The more surface level courtesies I show you and then nothing else, it means we're quite distant. Like, oh, hi, yeah, you have a great day. See ya. Like, yeah, wait, that's just HR. You know, when you're face to face with your friends, like, so it's been a while, loser. And then when you don't see each other again, you talk with the rest of your friends. You know, I really miss that guy. He's such a great person. I hope his health is going okay and whatnot. It's the opposite. You talk good about them behind their back. But when you're in front with them, that's when you go all crass with the jokes. That's genuine friendship, chat. It seems Beth did not have a most amusing time with said subordinate. Pray tell what happened. The Stone Panda says, I don't know if I'm slow when you haven't changed anything, but the more I come here, the cooler your body looks. When's the last time you were here? I mean, thanks. It definitely looks more aqua than I recall. I've always just been me, chat. There's nothing really new. Oh, months ago, then you probably saw me in my younger form. Let's call it that. Younger form. The metamorphosis, yes. Here I am, a nice, beautiful butterfly. Happy Vesper. Oh, yeah. You see, one trait I really like about Vesper here is she's stubborn and headstrong, which is great. Like a Roomba that bumps into your various furniture at your home during its initial sweeping, it learns after the first mistake that it commits. Some people never learn, right? They just keep on repeat. They're fools, essentially. Ugh, gosh.
Yeah, I don't like making the same mistake twice.
Yeah, like
So I
it's
learn from it.
there's a difference between an accident and a mistake, right? Accidents are unavoidable. Like most of the time, unavoidable. It really happens. Like, you accidentally stub your toe on the table. It can happen again tomorrow or 10 years from now. But mistakes like falling for scams, so you lost a lot of money, for example, on scam A or your property and whatnot, and then you lament over it. I console you the first time. Oh, boo-hoo. It's okay, man. You bounce back, all right? And then here I am hearing it again a few months later that you got scammed and lost more money. And it was by choice. Yeah, that's on you, man. I'm not. You expect no sympathy from me, you loser.
Yeah, no. While a broken disc can be avoidable, can be unavoidable, can be avoidable. Accidents do happen, but at the same time, falling for a scam repeatedly.
Falling for a scam, like only an old person would fall for said
Mm.
scam, right?
Yeah, and even then, my grandpa's gotten scammed maybe once in the past 6 years. He's learned from that and hasn't done it again.
Same. Like,
don't-
look,
Don't use any desk with anyone you don't trust.
do not redeem the code. exactly. God. Man. Ugh. I think the biggest person that got scammed here was Vesper. She got scammed with me as the companion instead. Terrible material chat.
What?
Shh, nothing. Said your ears look great.
I don't believe you.
Why did you redeem? Oh, Ves, do you have Stay Aligned enabled in your slime software? I notice you keep on fast resetting.
Oh, it's a little bit. It needs a bit of tweaking because
I'll
fast
check it.
reset isn't hold. It's just tap, and it does it. So I
Okay,
keep
okay.
accidentally fast resetting myself into a different direction.
You know you can fix that to hold instead, right? How about you do
I
that
just
while I
gotta
go
figure out
keep
how to
chat
do
entertained? Remember, go to your bindings, OVR Advanced Resolution, and then Oculus Touch Controllers. Your B button, instead of tap, set it to hold. I bet you call it best popcorn because of our ears. Now I call it buttered corn with cheese. Strauss says I got scammed out of resold tickets to show. Only to find out of what's on the guest what. It was funny. While I was on call with Vesper yesterday, right? Or the other day when I was building her PC, I said, Vesper, are we on loudspeaker? She said, yeah, we're on loudspeaker. I said, okay, I will help you install your Microsoft on your computer. She told me to shut up because her parents would hear it and think that she's in a scam call or something like that. Yes, it was funny. Also, she's fixing key bindings. Hmm. This is so funny. I got scammed out of the Juice World concert. Juice World? What's that? Oh my god. I feel bad for any
Juice WRLD's
Indian
a
that
rapper,
actually
I'm pretty-
works in IT or any support sites. You cannot erase the cliche anymore. It's there, right? I'm sure there are good, like in any place there's bad eggs, bad actors, and good actors, right? Okay. Oh. But goodness, I don't know if it's their diet. I had an Indian friend who actually takes a bath, but you could not get rid of this bodily funk that he had. I see now why some escort services specifically state that no Indian bros allowed. Yeah, I was browsing through forums before because I was trying to find like a place I could distract slash hook up my friend who's single and desperate. It's just like, okay, what? No Indian bros allowed. Okay. It says I've seen a video about that sometime on Instagram too. Right. Pascal says some are from a sect that don't use chemical products, including soap. Right. And Uh, I don't want to visit India, period. I'm sorry. I'm good.
And
I will enjoy your cultural heritage behind the monitor. Have you guys seen the Indian street food videos of like there's this guy in particular. I think he's making like little like flat bread. What he does is he puts it in flour, he puts it in his armpit, it squishes it like that. And yeah, the other guy was selling this concoction that you drink. And inside an old aged bucket, he would this is the bucket, right? He would dunk his whole arm and then swish it like that. Yes. Inventory bread. Yes.
Oh, God.
Bev, one time when we hop onto the palace with popcorn in it, I'm going to load up a particular playlist and I need you guys to watch it with me. If you think British butter was bad, you need to see what they eat on a daily basis. Oh, yo. Mechatronic Dragon, yes, one of my closest buddies that you sometimes see on stream. He ran out of the room. He has zero tolerance. He doesn't have the stomach for anything of that content and literally left the instance. I'm scared. No, you're excited to see it. And then we're gonna have Fluffy, we're gonna have Axel, we're gonna have the others Doran too, and Litz. Vesper's probably gonna evacuate to a corner in the room because she doesn't want to. No, you have to see it. This is called education, right? On the various cultural and societal norms around the world. Not for the faint of heart, and even more so for the faint of stomach. Luffy, save me. I love the video of the Indian guy mixing drinks and he starts beating the glass and doing spins with it. Yeah. He like tries to catch it and he screws up. Or the Indian guy with the watermelons, like he splits it and goes "Ah!" and like he yells and he's achieved the greatest achievement a human being can in his mind. Let's says are that dude sitting on the ground, forming some kind of dough and the flowers all over the ground, including his grip. Yes. Ooh. I know what you're talking about. They're invincible though, dude. It's weird that they'll eat it and be the grossest thing on the planet and be complete. I don't think they really live that long if they eat that kind of stuff. But yes. It says, I've also found another video of someone drinking out of a trash bag. I'm sorry,
Don't
viewers.
remind me.
Please don't leave. That's all on Litz, not me. Me, I don't watch that kind of content. Never come to the Middle East, then, says the flight attendant. If you do, maybe you'll have a Pascal on your flight. As long as you give me good food, we're good. No, with a hard period, says Fluffy to Beth. The average lifespan in India is 68 for men. Oh,
It's not that high.
which is impressive. Given that they wash in that horrid place called the Ganges River, used to be a sanctified place back in ancient times, but now it's nothing but a floating trough of rubbish and dead bodies. Yuck. Did you know there's a bunch of like a little group of Indians, but they're cannibals? and they wait for the bodies to float down and they grab it and they have a nice old picnic. You can Google it. Ah. I'm not joking. Please Google it. Ganges River cannibals.
Will not save you, Beth. You have to suffer, learn.
Hey, at least it's better than going through horror, right? Pascal says most of my passengers are Indians. Lots of wheelchairs and destroyed bags. They look 97 but are actually 65. Ah, then they're probably the elderly that has gone through hard labor in their lives. Man, like... Yeah, the Agori. Right? They have like white ash and whatnot on their body.
I think you'll take the horror.
I think I'll take the horror, which means the horror of the videos about the food. Alright, good. It's a date then. Westerners are flocking there for reasons. To be honest, rather have them there than here. You know what?
What are they going for, their spiritual awakenings or whatever?
Spiritual awakenings. Yes. There is a reason why Vesper's the one that's gonna visit me instead of me going to America. Seeing as what's happening over there ain't exactly the best. You can come chill and have food here instead.
Yeah.
I was not expecting to backfire so efficient. Backfire? Nah. It's still toasty, so I'm gonna take off my boots. Oh, that's so zoomed out. Lechon manok from Baliwag. I had some of that yesterday for dinner. It's absolutely delicious. If you guys are gonna visit the Philippines, the heat is gonna be a very minor afterthought once you explore the delicacies available in my countries. The wonderful beaches, the ever so hospitable and friendly people, the mountains, the hot springs, and most of all, the sandy beaches. Or we'll meet up in the middle, like me and Vesper are gonna meet up in India, which is in the middle.
No.
No, no way. Filipinos out American the Americans at that. What do you mean?
I mean, there was the 5-patty burger you were telling me about.
Closer now that I think about. Come on, like here. So we're both in frame properly. Oh, the 5-patty burger. Oh God, yeah, we're gonna try some of that too.
Thing is, I don't know how to turn off the table.
There,
Oh,
you see
wait
the
a minute.
word billiards?
Yep.
There you go.
Right here.
Now I can like, have a better framing for both of us. And an extremely narrow aperture. Here. Maybe here. Oh, this is like the Helldivers planning stage. Speaking of Helldivers, I wonder when their big batch is gonna come out.
Kind of curious too, because
Right?
even with my new computer, like I noticed, oh, there's some bugs.
Oh, they haven't patched that out. Like
Yeah,
the
no,
audio glitching
Like
out
I
and
even saw
whatnot.
like the gun, like it's just chilling on your hip, right? It was twitching.
Oh, the physics was spazzing out. Meet up in Germany. So we're just gonna crash in Fluffy's place. Yeah, and then Litz is gonna show up. Like, oh, it's not like I wanted to see you guys or anything. It proceeds to take off her shoes and go inside anyway. Yes. You're gonna see me messing around with Fluffy's S1000. To redline the bike right after starting it. With an just fully rev it for 30 seconds. Right? It's healthy for the engine. Oh, that's there. Where's the Vesper cam? There we go. Yeah. I miss my bike already, Chad. Oh my god. I feel like I lost a friend. They're not there anymore. I don't even have the remains. I just have my helmet and feels weird wearing pants without my keys hooked to one of the belt hooks. Not a tsundere. What is Litz? Is she a dandere? She's more of a ko. There's a sprinkle of ko there. Very aloof.
Are you calling her emo?
I mean, what was that about? What's that German term she said? She's like she's a meatloaf or something. I don't remember.
All she's missing is the 2000s fringe
Yes.
covering one eye.
Hey, good luck and have fun, Blue. Did I say hello to Mox? Why, hi there. Welcome back to stream. Oh, it seems that the Nympher here wants to see where the door is. Would you mind showing them, Vesper? Please and thank you. What's this? So you're not able to fully redline it at 12K. Oh, it has a limiter. Damn. These smart ECU things that these bikes have nowadays. You lost your bike. I sold it a few days ago because the value just kept on going lower and lower. Kawasaki was now selling it like almost 5K cheaper, and like the second-hand market just was like, oh god, I need to get rid of it this year. But it's nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough to get the apricot window. It's still something I gotta work on. A meatloaf sounds like something you'd call me. I would rather call you Wagyu, Mox. At least that's
upon
high
reading
class.
Batten's messages. Yeah, I should have booted him sooner.
That's
Not
okay.
very savory.
Yep. Ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba. See? Oh, good thing they're gone. Wagyu, I'm on it, right? Look at you. Expensive, delicious, and high calorie. What's this? Panda says, I lost, quote unquote, the back of my wheel after someone ran a red at Machitus and erased the back of my Kawasaki 500. Oh no. Okay. Hmm. Now I have an 883 Harley, right? So I assume you have the long stretches of road in order to go enjoy it. No way, it's already 2 hours and 16? Can't be, that's so quick.
Yeah.
Mm. Again, I am a bit hungry though. Well, always hungry. But I will persist in VR chat for a short while. Litz needs to show up. 100%. Monk says, surprisingly, I've yet to still try Wagyu. It's a bit hard to get where I live. Is there no Japanese places that you can order it from? It doesn't have to be A5 Wagyu and whatnot. I'm sure Liz prefers being entitled cool instead of the. Yes. They are, but I prefer to cook it myself. Just lightly seared, salt and pepper, that's all you need. Hmm. Everything is better done at home. Clean up aside, I agree. Somebody cleaned up the decimals. Oh my gosh. And right under the nose of both forces of darkness, Fluffy and Beth. Sneaky attack. We're about to eat dinner first. I am about to go eat as well. Don't worry. Let's go. Like AFK, I'm gonna do that pause. Beef. Beef, yes. I actually want to run one through my sous vide. Wagyu is so soft you don't need to. If it was your regular, very lean cuts of meat, yes, I would sous vide it like 6 hours, not just 4. Oh man, now I miss my sous vide machine. Shit. Just put it in my little Ziploc bags, vacuum seal it, put my little concoction of herbs in it. Delicious. You're making my tummy rumble right now. I'm so hungry.
Decimals for life.
Decimals for life. No, don't worry. I'll go eat after stream. No, surprisingly, I've experimented. I think it was set to 60. What temperature did they set it to? Like 65 or 55? It wasn't that high. And then I experimented 4 hours, 6, and then like 12 hours. 12 was when it was kind of not exciting anymore. Good luck, Ivan. 55 is medium. Ah. But the thing is, even if it's medium rare, if it's been sous vide, it's still super tender. Go make your ramen. Go ahead. Thank you, Flan. I don't know, the beef that I got was particularly tough and it was this thick. It was like cube. Yeah, it was that thick. Hmm. I'm not sure. Maybe the cows here are just really tough. The donators are fighting. They like to slug out every now and then, and I just like collect the excess mana that sparks around, like put it in my pocket. They're just built. I think they're like on roids or something, Fluff. Like, whoa. And then I have a slow cooker. One of my favorite appliances because I can just put a whole chicken in it. They put like little slices of ginger. I put my chicken bouillon cubes and whatnot. Sometimes some soy sauce, mirin, a bit of sugar brown. And then you just leave it there for like 6 hours. And then the meat just falls off the bone of the chicken. It's a perfect pour over like steamed white rice. Mm. Oh, yes, that's what I have. And an air fryer. Slow cooked tikka masala. Oh, shit. Oh, I don't have a grill now that I think about it for skewers. If Vesper's getting hungry, no, I think she's just eaten. You're hungry.
No, I'm already hungry again.
You're hungry again. Oh,
Yes, I had a granola bar for breakfast because I normally don't feel hungry when I wake up.
a granola bar. That's nothing. Okay. Yeah, don't worry. Thank goodness we started food talk right as we're approaching end of the stream. You guys are gonna be spared from my usual extensions. Food. Vesper and I had the same struggles. I don't eat breakfast. Same. I wake up at a non-standard time of day, so my breakfast is sort of like past lunch. And my dinner is like in the AMs. Vesper here follows a proper sleeping schedule, so she eats in the morning and eats dinner in the night. Oh, please fight some more. Oh,
Oh, don't die.
is that what we're gonna call it? The decimal wars.
The decimal wars.
The decimal wars. That sounds kind of cool, doesn't it? Decimal
Mhm.
wars. Seems like a lot of us are gonna go eat after stream. It doesn't help when we talk about food and it's delicious, right? I wish I could win this war right now or make it work. You see, Mox here, he's gonna be like the logistics part. Because I remember he tossed in, like, and moved the bar last time. But that, instead of going to my bike, it goes into the food instead. Fuel for the person, not the vehicle. Speaking of food, I didn't order anything tonight, did I? Damn, what am I gonna eat? I have canned tuna, canned spicy lemon tuna. That's like in this
Sweet.
yellow can.
I need to figure
It's-
out what I got because we ate most of our leftovers last night.
Oh, what did you have?
It was those taquitos.
Oh, the
agree
taquitos
with
that
me.
made you. Okay, okay. Fun time in the porcelain throne when
Mhm.
food doesn't agree with you. Like, oh, I'm done. Nope, 180, go back. Oh, it definitely helps most. 100%. What did I just egg on? Food consumption loss. Tuna salad on a flatbread. I have bread, I remember. It's only 3 days old, so it should still be okay.
Yep, should be good as long as you got it
Should be
like
good.
properly sealed and it's not like so dry you can't bite through it.
Oh, you can like knock it on the table. Like, no, no, no. I'm just usually I get this bread and then I torch the outside a little bit, gives it a nice crisp and whatnot. Congratulations, Lex. Having some quick ramen right now, says Moss. It's something, but I gotta do my shopping. I hope the ramen that you have, if it's instant, comes from Nissin. I have yet to see, out of the multitude of noodle brands that I've consumed their products from, anybody top Nissin. They just have the best. It's the most generous amount of noodles, the most conveniently packed. I mean, not just noodles, the toppings on the noodles. Hello, Div. Strau. Strau cannot get into the server. Carl, you got this. Oh no, why am I on the Africa Twin forum again? Mm-mm. I got two phones, Kevin K. Oh my god, who's this Andrew? That is some scarily AI generated generic photo. You, sir, are BANNED. Vicious account. Yeah, once you see somebody with a T-pose of a VR chat avatar in the middle of like Unity or something as their picture, 99% chance they're just there to scam. Oh, somebody got the original Bulldog. Okay, okay. Great. Hey man, don't forget to get some eggs. Some eggs, some chimes. So, I was looking through my Discord chat. Ah, Bulldog. Delicious. Wait, are you watching me while going to the supermarket? It's just the phone open. There are 2 jars of mayo. I was going to ask about that. I thought it was like New York style cream cheese or something. It was $3 off, which is enormous. Cheesecake. Oh, yes. Nice and like cold-ish. And then the crust in the bottom. Mmm. You see, cheesecake is Vesper's absolute favorite dessert. She loves it so much that the mere mention of it is gonna make her want some. um, but yes. So if you want to give Vesper anything, cheesecake's the number one thing, food-wise. Okay, and not dessert, Vesper. What's your favorite? What would you want? Barbecue, chicken, or
This is gonna sound so damn American, but you can't go wrong with a good burger every once in a while.
that's true. Same here. Burger. Man. I have a Vesper burger. What's it? I work in a grocery store. Right. Forgot.
Ah, yeah. I'm not allowed to shop while I work, even though I work in one myself. So unless I'm on break,
Really?
not
Like
allowed.
even but after work you can like line up inside and
Yeah. Yeah, but most times my breaks are just used to use the bathroom, hydrate, eat snack, out.
gotcha. That's the beauty of a night shift, Vesper, says Moss. I'm lawless. Night shift? True.
Good for you.
Good
I
for-
cannot work night shifts.
Oh, yes. Luckily enough, she can just walk to work. It's like, what, 20 minutes, right? Convenient. I live in the night, says Mitzi the sleepless. Okay, Mitzi. Do not burger the Vespers. I made a cheesecake last week, says Moss. Delicious. Damn. Last week I had this cheesecake cream puffs or something. It was it was so good.
You were eating it on camera.
I was eating it on camera and it's oh, I cannot even describe it, but it was a premium soul healing experience. That's the best way I can describe it. And it was so generous. It was like a cup of like the cheese stuff inside. That sounds deadly. It would. It is. Cream cheese cream puffs. It was from this Japanese bake shop, I think. I saw it in the mall. Goodness me, we already hit 2 hours and 33 minutes. What to do? What to do? Should I go? Should I stay? Should I go eat? But there's so many people. I don't want to leave you hanging. Stretch. When I'm hungry and I'm unable to satisfy said hunger, I end up becoming sleepy. Which means I do need to go eat. Time to devour whatever frozen food I have over at my freezer. Oh, joy. A sleepy Gib would be cute. That's a secret. I'm always sleepy. Vesper knows. I just tell her, I'm gonna go nap.
Go eat.
At least you're not cranky all the time.
Go eat. It didn't show up. The message didn't show up, hence the command was not enacted.
You still heard it though.
No. Yes.
Yes.
But there's 50 people. How can I leave? Not 5 dozen. 4 dozen of you. hanging. Let's see. I'm gonna do some research. I'm gonna open the VR chat category. And I'm gonna see who's on the top. The top row. Whoa! Is that TOS? Oh my goodness.
I've got a lizard tail on my face, so I know what I
Oops.
must do and grab it.
Mm-mm-mm. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
Get me some of those cream puffs.
Get me some of those cream puffs. Oh man. The mocks. I'm gonna see if I can find. I didn't take a picture. Unfortunately, I just ate it. But I'm gonna look for a picture of it. I think it's on their Facebook, and then I'm gonna DM it to you sometime today. I'm gonna go eat first. It had a picture of a cow. This was just so good. Also, thank you. Hold on. So going back to my research. So many people streaming today. Oh, this guy looks nice. Man, that Viwi avatar seems to be really rising in popularity. I mean, yes, it's really well built with the muscle systems and whatnot. Ah. Please don't blast my ears. Good God. Anyway, where was I? So, it's midweek. I'm not gonna bother you guys with my usual post-stream. Unless you want to chat with Vesper here for the next half hour. But unfortunately, she herself is hungry as well. So, I gotta put something in her tummy soon enough because I am hungry. So, how about we start saying our goodbyes for today, Vesper?
Bye, chat. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and make sure to sleep plenty. Practice good hygiene as well.
There you have it, chat. Put some pressure in Vesper. Thank you so much for tuning into today. I actually really like this background. It's nice. It's just enough sunlight without being overwhelming, and like that bistro map. And that's a funny emote. It's not a kobold. Yes. So Mox, Zoxy, Lux, Rift, and who else here? We have Fluffy, Litz. We have Beth. We have Ivan. And I'm gonna scroll up so I don't miss the names. We have Mitzi. And everybody else, yes. What's the world name? It's called... I'll tell you later in Discord. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good night. Well, most definitely see you on Friday. Thanks for sticking around today. I appreciate you guys sharing your time and staying here as long as you have. Normally, I would get bored of streams like in 5 minutes. I must be doing something entertaining for you guys to be staying here then. But yes, go do your chores, go do your stuff, go finish your shopping malls. Go cook your food, go play your game, and most of all, you have a good day or night. See you on Friday, alright? Bye, chat. Of course, I haven't forgotten about Linz. See you soon, Linz.